poured, all of this quantitative easing, all this money that's been printed has essentially, as he pointed out just before we went to break, it's found its way not in any other kind of economic growth except for a growth in a bubble stock market. Mr. Dent, you're talking about demographics, and I think one of the that's one of the key trends that you look at when you're forecasting. What about the massive influx of immigrants that we're seeing in the United States as well as in Europe? We had 3,000 immigrants rescued in a single day in Italy over this weekend. We've had the Obama administration incentivize massive immigration into our country. How does that play into the demographics that we have with the baby boomers?
Well, first of all, it has greatly increased the demographics of the baby boom generation, even more than the millennial generation that followed them. And we've been an immigrant nation forever, especially the late 1800s, early 1900s, greatest immigration surge ever. And then we saw the great bubble and boom into the roaring 20s because of the technologies and that. It was much more immigration than births back then. Now we've seen another immigration surge that peaked recently and will decline for many, many years because in a bad economy, countries don't want to let as many immigrants in. And in a bad economy, immigrants don't want to take the risk of moving. And yes, we've had a huge illegal immigrant problem, but to send them all back, as Donald Trump says, to me is too much. You got to say, look, here's a period to reapply, do X, Y, and Z. If you don't, we'll send you back. But if you suddenly sent back 11 million people, it would cost a fortune, and the economy would go into recession on that alone. My view is this. Again, what a country should do, and I lecture a lot in Canada and Australia, these are countries that have a great immigration policy. They want immigration, but you have to not only just be legal, you have to qualify to be in. You got to be in the skills they need. You got to prove you're valuable to the economy. Australia and Canada have very good immigration. Our immigration has still helped bolster our economy and take jobs that mean people wouldn't. But in a downturn, I'm telling you, we're going to turn anti-immigration in a moment. That's what happened in the Great Depression. The greatest immigration surge in all of U.S. history went down to zero in the 1930s when the economy flopped.
We're seeing that happening already in Europe. There were reports this weekend about what was going on in Germany. They had demonstrators there who were attacking the police who were guarding immigrants who had come into the country. And I guess when I look at this, what you're talking about is how we have to make sure that people have the ability to take care of themselves. Absolutely. But we're doing exactly the opposite. We're paying them to come in. We're incentivizing them to come. We're telling them, come in, you can get free this, you can get free that, you can get college tuition, in-state rates at any state in the nation. And now we've got on the Democrat side, we've got Hillary Clinton as well as Bernie Sanders saying, let's give everybody free college. If you do that and you pull in the people, the dreamers that Obama is incentivizing to come in, remember, those kids, those children are considered to be children all the way up to the age of 31. That's what he considers to be children. That's how they've redefined children. So if they open up and give everybody free college tuition, that is truly going to be a massive, massive increase of the welfare state. Just as we're going to see a massive increase in the welfare state as people have to pay for more schools, we're seeing massive increases of people coming in. And we say, we'll give a free education to anybody in the world, and we'll even let you pick what language you want to get schooled in. And we'll send the bill to the people who own homes in the area. I mean, that's what we're seeing happening now.
Well, you know, David, I hate to say we have the most convoluted immigration policy in history. I tell you, in the coming decades, all developed nations, except for a few small ones from Israel to Australia, are going to be declining in population, workforce, everything, because we're not having enough babies and immigrants help replace it. But you have to have an immigration policy that makes sense and that attracts the right people. And that's why we should study Australia and Canada and Switzerland and countries like this that have done it successfully. We've done it haphazardly, and it still worked to our advantage overall. But it's going to be a huge issue because we didn't do it the right way. And now we got to debate, how do we undo it? And I don't agree with the extreme of Trump saying, send them all back and then bring the best ones back in. But we got to do something to get clear about this and have better policies. But I tell you, David, I don't think immigration is going to be a big policy in a downturn that I'm predicting in the next 4 to 7 or 8 years. Immigrants are not going to want to go in as much, and people here are even more not going to want them to come in. It is already net zero for many years in Mexico, our biggest immigration. So I think it's going to go down even more. I don't think we need to build the wall yet, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of immigration in a down economy. That's something to worry about for the next boom. We need to shoulder up our financial markets and our banking systems and stuff that are way out of kilter and have been totally killed by special interests. Special interest is the worst single thing in our economy. We can't change healthcare. We can't change education. We can't fight inflation. We can't deleverage debt because there's too many financial interests that have bought their way into politics that won't let the politicians on either side do it. So we almost, one of the reasons I welcome this kind of downturn and this collapse, it's going to bring everybody into reality. We got to get back down to, what are we really doing? How do we really grow? We don't grow by companies buying back their stocks. We don't grow by printing free money. We don't grow by having zero interest rates, which just causes people to misinvest and stuff. We grow by saving and investing in productive capacity, creating new jobs, attracting good immigrants that are necessary, and having more babies. That's how we grow down the road. And technological innovation, which we kill through all types of excessive regulations. So there's so many things we could do right. We've been doing the wrong things because special interests have been driving the economy the way they want it through the politicians. And that, if I had to say number one thing I would do if I were Donald Trump and won the presidency, and this is one thing I agree with him on clearly, you've got to kill this thing where special interests can fund politicians and get them elected. That should not be allowed.
Absolutely. You mentioned technological innovation. Well, let me ask you, in your analysis, how do you see the predictions of massive automation and robotics and the displacement of workers? How do you see that playing out? A lot of people say, well, we've had a lot of these types of disruptive technologies in the past. We've seen it happen with agriculture. We've seen it happen with manufacturing. But then on the other hand, we've had people who have said, this is something that is so broad-based, it's going to hit every industry at the same time in a massive way. Are we going to look at 50% unemployment? I know some people will be fixing some robots. Some people will be manufacturing robots for a while, then robots can manufacture themselves. But how do you see this shaking out in your analysis?
Okay, David, how do you get more extreme than 80% of agriculture and mining and trapping workers going down to 2% today over the last century and a half? We always displace old jobs and create better ones. We went from agriculture to industry, production and manufacturing, from manufacturing to high-level service. I don't mean just clerical stuff and McDonald's and stuff. I mean healthcare, financial services, high technology, these sort of stuff. Every change in technology throughout history, and this is so consistent, if you look at history, you can't miss it, destroys old industries and jobs and creates new ones. The automobiles and tractors and trucks and buses, and then eventually airplanes, help destroy the railroad industry. They're a tiny thing now, but we're much better off. There will be new jobs created. My fear is they'll be created somewhere else because our demographics are weakening. We're aging. If we don't do something to change that, if we don't encourage innovation and higher birth rates and things, which some countries in Europe have, and which Australia has, and Israel is like the best demographic wealthy nation in the world forward, and they're a leader in technology. That's the key to going forward. You got to go with the technology. You can't fight it and say, oh, robotics are going to replace a lot of factory workers. Well, Oh,
certainly, yeah. You can't legislate that out of existence. But I guess what I've seen a lot of people say is, yeah, we've seen this happen with industry after industry, but we have the potential with this particular disruptive technology to have it happen to so many different industries simultaneously, to the service industry, to the transportation industry, to white collar, blue collar jobs. I mean, everybody, we're not going to need truck drivers nearly as much as we do now, perhaps, is what a lot of people are saying in terms of package delivery, long-term haul, that type of thing. So there's going to be so many different industries affected simultaneously that even if we eventually adjust to this, it might send this shock through the system of 50% unemployment or 60% unemployment for a few years before we can adjust to that shock. Do you see that coming? Are you concerned about that?
No, I don't. Temporarily, yes. David, I mean, I've studied history more than anybody I know. And we got computers that I call left brain machines. They can do everything from bookkeeping and robotics can do